Hello, my name is Scott, and today we're going to look at the research and process of building cultural context within a multilingual website. So, before we dive into the research, I think the term transcreation should first be defined. Transcreation is the process of adapting content from one language to another while still maintaining the existing tone, intent, and style. And this does differ greatly from traditional translating. Translating focuses more on replacing the words in a language with corresponding words in a new language, whereas transcreation focuses on conveying the same message and concept in a new language. Not only that, but it also involves tailoring a certain image, color, or font on a web page to kind of create a sense of familiarity to its global users. So, first, let's understand who are the dominant language players in the digital space. According to a report from Byte Level Research, China is the dominant online language, followed by English and Spanish. And one would think that English is the number one language, but it makes up 22% of the world's online users, whereas the category of all other language makes up the majority. And this category includes more of the smaller languages, such as Italian, Dutch, Swedish, Hindi, and Tamil. So, evidently, as the internet grows and continues to develop, more languages are going to be acquired. Sheo, he describes the rise of language adaptation throughout the largest sites. And it's documented that Wikipedia currently holds the world's largest number, topping out at 295 languages, followed by Google at 153. Now, obviously, those are enormous collections of languages, but the majority of websites reach at about 40 languages, giving websites a reach of about 90% of all web users. So, how do we start to incorporate design into multilingual websites? Christian Arno's Design Multilingual Website, A Beginner's Guide, discusses the process of text expansion. And this happens the most while translating English to another language. So, depending on the language, text can expand by 30 to even 50%. And within these two cases, they both depict Hyatt Hotels global navigation from English to Portuguese. And as you can see, the character count increases in that yellow CTA, but the size of the button actually remains the same, as well as the other form fields. So, superstitions also play a massive role in design. Um, John Junker's Think Outside the Country discusses Apple's site in the US and China and how numbers actually play a big role into how we show design. So, in Western countries, it's common to see an item with the price ending in nines, but in China, items will end in eights because the number actually represents good fortune, and the pronunciation of eight actually sounds like the word prosperity or wealth. And Juncker also notes that Asia typically avoids using the number four anywhere in design since the pronunciation sounds similar to the word for death. So, photography definitely plays a big role as well in design, and designers should be aware of how photography could unintentionally offend their audience around the world, especially when it comes to clothing. So, Nivea's Middle East homepage uses a photo of a Middle Eastern woman wearing a hijab, while their Japan site displays a Japanese woman on the front. And lastly, color selection is very important to global design because they carry significant cultural, political, and personal meaning. Um, Gabe Wahab discusses the role of color in some countries. So, black obviously signifies death in America, but in Africa, it actually conveys age and wisdom. White in America signifies purity and justice, but in Japan, it's actually a symbol for death. So, when it comes to designing, blue is typically the safest global color. For in countries such as Greece, Israel, and Ukraine, it is perceived as holy and with great health. And then over in Asia, red is actually considered to be celebratory and lucky color, um, which you can see here in Apple's landing page. Over in China, they make use of that by displaying the red bands for the Apple Watch. So to conclude, obviously, building cultural context within a multilingual website can obviously be an extensive process and involves a variety of sensitive factors that should be addressed. Just because a site's language is translated does not mean that it can be culturally or contextually understood by its global users. And a global website should always first target who they actually want to be using their website and use relevant visuals such as colors and imagery to convey a country's sense of pride, inclusion during their web viewing experience. Thank you.